What a good day, everyone. So, I am here again to report about a certain topic in psychology. This is by group. So, the topic of our group is the self from the perspective of anthropology. So, take a look at this picture, at this saying, and try to understand what's the meaning of this. Everything that irritates us about others can lead us to understanding ourselves. So, the meaning of that is everything that makes you irritated, that makes you angry, that makes you embarrassed, or everything that you don't like happens to you, and how you react on that makes you understand who you are, who truly yourself is. That's it. You can understand yourself based on how you react, how you show how you show your personality, how you express your personality to others. Understanding the self. The self is an individual viewed as both the source and the object of reflexive behavior. The self is active, it initiates reflexive behavior, and passive, that object toward whom reflexive behavior is directed. Then, the active aspect of the self is the I, and the object of the self action is the me. Meaning, the self is the individual viewed as both the source and the object of reflexive behavior. Meaning, the self is said to be the individual, the whole nature on what a person truly is, on how the reflexive behavior means how you react, how you show perfections, how you express your personality without hiding it, and you truly express who you truly are. That's it, the self of an individual person. What is self? That's what it is. It's the whole aspect of a human person. The self of the human person involves the personality, the who the person is, what the person is. That's it. The self. Anthropological perspective. Anthropological perspective focuses on the study of full scope of human diversity and the application of that knowledge to help people of different backgrounds. So, anthropological perspective is the study of full scope of human diversity, human nature. It is the study from the word anthropology, it is the study of a human being. And the purpose of this study is to help people of different backgrounds understand is to help people understand their position in the society. And yeah, that's it. What is self in anthropology? In anthropology, the self came to be understood as the process that orchestrates individual. So again, in anthropology, the self came to be understood as the process that orchestrates an individual's personal experience where she or he becomes self-aware and reflective about his or her place in society. It is according to Taylor, 1989. So, the self in understanding anthropology, their connection is the self came to be understood as the process, or in other words, it is the basis of what the person truly is and what is the place of a person in a society. That is the connection of anthropology to the self. That's why our topic for today is understanding the self. Two anthropological perspective of the self. So there are two anthropological perspective of the self, the egocentric and the sociocentric. Egocentric is autonomous and distinct individual, while sociocentric There is no intrinsic self that can possess enduring quality. Ego means one. It it focuses only on that person, on an individual, autonomous and distinct individual. While sociocentric comes from the other comes from the other view of other people towards each other.
Hello everyone, my name is Seth Ewatin and I'm here to discuss the two views and aspects of self according to anthropology. So before we dive into the main topic, so let's read this quotation or this saying. The self is not static, it is added and subtracted from by generic maturation, learning, forgetting, stress, aging, and disease by Ledo 2002. So self is not static or it's not stationary because self is constantly evolving or improving or developing from child up until to the present or to the adult, diba? And that's why we have this term called the character development or self-development because as we grow old, we develop ourselves because of several reasons like we learn, we forget, stress, aging, and disease, as the quote stated. So, for example, like me, when I was a child, when I was in elementary, I like to bully people. For example, I like to bully people because it's fun. I like to make my classmates cry. But as I grow old, I have learned from my mistakes that bullying is not a good thing to do, and it will only hurt the people close to you. So that's why today I don't go out bullying people because I have learned and I have aged and I have matured. So I have learned from my mistakes. So that's why self is constantly changing. So first is the two aspects of self. What are the two aspects of self? It is the private self and the public self. So what exactly is the private self? From the word private, so the part of the self that is known mainly to oneself, such as one's inner feelings and self-concept. It may be similar to or different from the public self one reveals to others. So this private self is the one that we always hide from others. We hide to the public because this is our true self. So for me, private self is my true self. It is my honest self that I don't want to show people, mainly because of mainly because of I don't want to get judged. I don't want people to hate me. I don't want them to think that I'm a bad person. That's why keep I only keep it to myself. So for example of as an example of this is a closeted gay person. Especially if for example if a closeted gay person has a family of homophobic or homophobes, of course he's not gonna tell them that he's gay because again he doesn't want to be judged by them, he doesn't want to be hated, he doesn't want them to hurt him, right? So that is a great example of our private self. So public self, it is of course it is the opposite of the private self. So information about the self or an integrated view of the self that is conveyed to others in action, self descriptions, appearance, and social interactions. An individual's public self may vary depending on the target or audience of such impressions. So the public self is used by us or we show our public self, of course to the public, so that we can impress them, so we can um, please them, right? Because it is the good side of ourselves, but it is exaggerated, so that people will like us, so that they want to be friend with us, right? So and one's public self is dependent on the setting. So for example, when I am in school, if I am on a classroom, of course I'm gonna show myself or my intelligent self to the teacher or my serious self because uh, if you're in school you need to be serious, right? So that perception of me will change if for example I'm with my friends. I show my not so serious self, but it is not my true self. So it is not it is my goofy side, it is my funny side, but it is not my true side. because again, I just want to impress them. I just want them to like me. But it's I'm not saying that we are always pretending. We are not showing our true self, but there's just times that we are pretending, so that we are liked by everyone around us. But it is not bad to show your true self to other people. So that's the private and public self. That's the two aspects of self. Next is the two views of self. So the two views of self are the sociocentric and the egocentric. So what is sociocentric? By the word socio or social or sociology, a personality dependent on the social atmosphere. So sociocentric is a positive side of ourselves because we are focusing not on ourselves but the others. We are focusing on the we care about other people more than us. So we are constantly thinking about them if they're okay. So for example, if I am in a group, I'm always checking on my group mates if, hey, did you learn this, or is it okay if you do this, something like that. I always check on them, right? So that is a sociocentric self. It is it is the self that cares for other people instead of ourselves. Next is the egocentric self, having or regarding the self or the individual as the center of all things. So from the word ego, diba? So we are our pride, and it is the it is when you focus only on yourself. Uh, I mean, it is not bad to to love yourself first or to put yourself first, but there's a thin line between putting yourself first and being selfish, right? So when you're egocentric, you're always thinking about yourself. Like for example, when someone is in danger and you're thinking, oh my God, I'm gonna be in trouble for this because of me, like that. You're instead of focusing on the other person that's really in danger. So that is our egocentric self. We always an example of this is a narcissist, because a narcissist is always focusing on themselves. So that's why egocentric is the bad side of ourselves. And if you want to put yourself in place first, there's nothing wrong with that. That's completely fine. Just don't be selfish to other people. Just don't focus only on yourself. Focus to other people and to yourself, so that we are accepted in the society. So that is it for the two aspects and views of ourselves. Thank you for listening.
Hi, I'm Jude Sige, and I'm here to talk about the three-phase rite of passage by Arnold van Gennep. The objectives: know who is Arnold van Gennep, know what are the three phases of rite of passage by Arnold van Gennep. Who is Arnold van Gennep? Arnold van Gennep is a German-born French ethnographer and folklorist. Arnold van Gennep studies different societies or groups with different cultures. He also studies and collects different folklores in different countries. He was born on April 23, 1873 and died on May 7, 1957. Arnold van Gennep was famous of his studies of the rites of passage. Let us now go to our main topic, which is Gennep's three-phase rite of passage. So, what is rite of passage? Rite of passage is an event that marks a change in a person's social or sexual status. Rite of passage are often ceremonies surrounding events such as religious event, marriage, childbirth, puberty, and death. Rite of passage are characterized by three distinct phases, namely separation, which is the first phase, transition, which is the second phase, and lastly, the third phase, which is incorporation. So let us talk about separation. Separation, in this phase, people leaving the familiar. People detach from their former identity or society into another. Liminality phase. In this phase, it is a time of testing, learning, and growing. A person transitions from one identity into another. And then lastly, the incorporation phase. It is the incorporation or reintegration of the new society. In this phase, the change in one's status is officially incorporated, which means the goal was achieved. It is becoming as one into different self or into different society. In this phase, someone is combined into a new society. I will give you a situational example in order for you to understand clearly the topic. There is a couple with different religions. In order to be married, the woman attended the seminar of the man's religion in order for her to become as one with the man's religion. This is an example of separation phase, leaving her familiar religion. Example for liminality phase is when the woman studied the man's religion until she was blessed to be converted with the man's religion. Learning the man's religion is a liminality phase. After all the process she underwent, they were able to get married. And that is an example of incorporation phase. All the events or process has been incorporated, which means the goal was achieved, which is getting married. And that is all about the three-phase rite of passage by Arnold van Gennep.
Good day. My name is Judel S. Melindo, and I'm gonna discuss the four subfields of anthropology. So, the four subfields of anthropology are archaeology, linguistic anthropology, biological anthropology, and sociocultural anthropology, or cultural anthropology. So, archaeology. Archaeology is the study of ancient and recent human past through material remains. Archaeology analyzes the physical remains of the past in pursuit of a broad and comprehensive understanding of human culture. So it basically means that archaeology focuses in the past and how it may have contributed to the present ways of how people conduct their daily lives. So, archaeology reconstructs, describes, and interprets human behavior and cultural patterns through material remains. So, these material remains, such as plant, animal, and ancient garbage, provides stories about utilization and actions. So, the person who conduct this study are called archaeologists. So it is a person who studies human history and prehistory through the excavation of sites and the analysis of artifacts and other physical remains. So in this study also, it made people realize the most important aspect of human nature, which is survival. All around the world, people have struggled to survive and up to the present. Human behavior, school of functionalism, continues to adapt in order to survive. So example for this is human continues to adapt in order to survive. So some would use power and strength, wars and resources just to ensure that a few deserving human being would survive. So the next subfield is linguistic anthropology. So linguistic anthropology studies language in its social and cultural context across space and over time. Universal features of language are analyzed and association between language and culture are evaluated. So in this study, human survival is primarily linked to their ability to communicate because you may misunderstand other people that may cause war and it may lead you to death. So the ability to communicate is very important in human survival. So, language identifies a group of people which are used to reflect and group a group's culture. So, example for this is when you're speaking in Cebuano, Bisaya, we can easily identify a group of people based in their language. So, this subfields studies how language and modes of communications change over time. So, it aims to discover how language is used to create and share meanings to form ideas and concepts and to promote social change. So, that's all for my part, and for the next two subfields will be discussed by Mr. Ripalda.
A pleasant day, sir. Good day, classmates. I'm John Romel Ripalda to share about sociocultural and biological anthropology. Just like botany and zoology, it is the study of animals and plants. Anthropology is the study of what makes us human, or study of human being. Sociocultural anthropology. It refers to social and cultural anthropology. It is the study of human similarities and difference and their impact on a wide range of social phenomena. How social and cultural differ. Social focuses on society and the social institution, while cultural focuses on human society and cultures and their development. Anthropologists explore how people variously positioned with the world today lived and understood the world, their aspirations and struggle, and how shared system data. Every place in the world have different culture, belief, religion that we need to respect, and we need to learn more. That's why anthropologists explore it, how people from different places live and understood the world. Sociocultural anthropology is founded on the idea that people adapt to their environments in different ways, which over time creates and develops culture. The society we live in can somehow influence us, like if we were from a place with many chaos, civil wars, etc. It can affect us also. Indigenous people live differently from people who lives in highly urbanized area. Cultural differences, belief, religion influence also our personal and social life. Like if you are a Muslim, there are things that prohibited in your religion, but others can do it. But we still need to respect whatever religion we have. Next is we have biological or physical anthropology. This is the study of human biological variation and evolution. Biological anthropology has six subfields. First is primatology, study of primates; paleoanthropology, study of human evolution; bioarchaeology, study of human remains; forensic anthropology, the same as bioarchaeology, but it differs because it has deeper investigation like crimes, etc. Molecular anthropology or study of molecules, also known as genetic anthropology. Human biology, study of human beings. Biological anthropologists seek to document and explain the patterning of biological variation among contemporary human populations, trace the evolution of our lineage through time in the fossil record, and provide a comparative perspective on human uniqueness by placing our species in the context of other living. Biological anthropologists, the one who explore how we humans are the same by studying past fossils of it. It is a scientific discipline concerned with the biological and behavioral aspects of human being. It is the one who found out the evolution of humans, Homo habilis, Homo sapiens, who lived about 2.4 million to 1.4 million years ago. That's all. Thank you.
Three dimensions of cultural variation. Individualism refers to the political and social philosophy that emphasizes the moral worth of the individual. Usually contains one person that can stand alone called individualistic. Example, when you don't depend financially on your parents. In the environment setting is when a president allows everyone to be responsible on their retirement instead of depending on social security. Collectivism refers to any of several types of social organization in which the individual is seen as being subordinate to a social collectivity such as a state, a nation, a race, or a social class. Collectivists are more likely as a group of people. Example, the needs of the family are prioritized over the needs of the individual. Tightness refers to the tightness of one's culture. Observes have a strong social norms and a little tolerance for deviance. They stand for their culture's belief. Example, Different countries like Japan and China considered as a tight culture because they must obey to their beliefs or else you will be hanged. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Aljubal Pisamalpong. I will discuss you the cultural complicity and tightness, looseness culture. Cultural complicity. Cultural complicity is one of the most commonly used variables in cross-cultural research. It has often been used as a measure of cultural evolution as has been shown by correlate with numerous number and variables. Particular attention will be devoted to the validity of this measure. Example of the cultural complex. Example of the cultural complex, the culture cluster of the activities, ceremonies, folklores, songs, and the stories associated with the hunting and used by the buffalo by Native African people. That is the example of the cultural complicity. Tightness and looseness culture. In 2011, we introduced the theory and measured the culture tightness, looseness, which reflect the degree of which culture have strict norms and punishment for deviance. Example of the countries which tight cultures include China, France, India, Japan, and Singapore. Loose cultures are those in which social norms are flexible, informal. Therefore, their, they purpose expectations but permit individuals to define the range tolerable behavior with which they may express their own preference. That is an example of the tightness and looseness culture.